Well. Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to another episode of the All In Show here at the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We got a great show in store for you guys. I see 10 of you guys are already in the live stream right now. We really do appreciate you coming in and interacting with us. We're going to get to all things that are Clemson football tonight. But before we get started with tonight's show, before I bring on my co-host Jordan Bowman, if you are not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. Come hang out with us. Come chop it up about Clemson football and college football alike. Hit that like button as well. This is a live video. The likes really help us out. We try to keep the live viewers and the likes, that ratio as close as we can. So we appreciate you guys coming in, hanging out with us. Subscribe, hit that like button, and then share our videos as well. Tell your friends about us. They don't have to be Clemson fans to come in here. We got a lot of different fan bases that show up to the show and interact with us as well. So we appreciate everybody coming in. Also, last but not least, I will mention that the Mark Rogers brand, the Voice of College Football, has launched merch. I know I say it every show, but go check out the store over on Mark Rogers' channel, the Voice of College Football. I'm sure you'll find something that you will like. But without further ado, I will bring on my co-host, my buddy, Jordan Bowman. Jordan, how you doing tonight, man?
I am elated, mostly because, one, I get to be on here with you and with everybody in the comment section and get to interact with them. But I'm also elated because the semester has finally come to a close. I'm finally free. It's been a really hectic past several months. But it's finally come to a close, so I'm in really good spirits tonight.
Hey, there we go.
You know, and I'm sure a lot of the Clemson players were elated as well, because as they're probably taking their last exams as well. Did you see the picture that Clemson football put out? Not the picture, but the video. It was like of I think it was Jalen Phillips and Sheridan Jones, and they were walking around with like the dogs, like the little support dogs, and like the students could go and pet them.
Yeah, they were like free hugs and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
It's something like the moms of Clemson do every semester. It's really cool. I always enjoy that. Dogs are cute.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, man.
I enjoyed that.
Everybody feels better after petting a dog, right? I mean, come on. Cats, not so much.
I'm not a huge cat guy, but I can appreciate cats. Like
okay. All right.
My mom is very anti-cats. She hates cats. Can't stand them. I think she got scratched when she was little, and so she tried to like convert me against them or anything. But cats are cool.
Yeah,
I'm cool with cats.
She raised you anti-cat. I got you.
She tried, at least.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, man, it's an exciting time. Jordan Bowman has completed another wonderful semester at Clemson. So he's going to have a little bit more free time. So that's always good, man. I'm happy for you. I know it's got to feel good to have those exams behind you because, I can't relate, but I'm sure those exams are daunting, to say the least.
Very much so. Very much so.
So I'm glad that you are on the other side of them. You have come into the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's always a good night to talk about Clemson football, right?
Hell yeah,
absolutely, man. Thank you guys, everybody in here, for joining us for another episode of the All In Show. We're really excited to be here. Always excited to come here and chop it up about Clemson football with my buddy here, Jordan Bowman. Just got home from my daughter's softball practice. She played really well. So I'm excited about the show, and let's get some shout outs to the comment section before we get started tonight, Jordan. I know we got a lot on the schedule. We got a lot to talk about, but let's give a little love to the people that make this show possible, because otherwise we would just be talking to each other. And although that would be cool as well, I enjoy our comment section for sure. So we got Ben Adams in here. How you doing, Ben Adams? Thanks for stopping by. John Sarian, he said, I have no clue. Are these newest MBB transfers, men's basketball transfers, good gets?
I think they are. Especially, I mean, Joe Girard from Syracuse, kid can shoot the lights out. I think he's going to add a much needed dynamic to Brownell's offense. And then the guy they got from UNC Greensboro that I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce his name. He's kind of supposed to be Ben Middlebrook's like replacement. He's really, really, really tall, obviously. I think he's going to be a really good depth piece. So I think there were two really good gets for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Men's basketball, getting some transfers in. We lost some pieces there. So obviously they need to replace quite a bit from that team. So we'll see how the new transfers work out. Felipe Garcia is in here. He says, is FSU, Clemson, Miami, and maybe the Tar Heels likely to join the Big Ten? Okay, so already a question about conference expansion and those type of things.
We'll delve into that a little bit later. That's going to be that would be a huge topic.
Yeah, that's a huge topic. Maybe we'll dedicate an episode to that here coming up of conference. Like, I know conference expansion is talked about a ton, especially in the college football YouTube community, because it's the off season. We're not playing games. And that's it's just a hot button topic. It's fun to talk about. It's fun to speculate about. And maybe here in the near future, we'll dedicate an episode and kind of really dive into some of the nuances of that and what it would look like for some ACC teams to possibly leave the ACC, because it is a pretty complicated topic. And I think it deserves maybe a deep dive. That we could do a little bit later, but I could see that happening. I definitely could see that happening. I could see those teams leaving the ACC, but again, there would be a lot that would go into that. That's not like a quick decision or really a quick thing that would ever happen. A lot has to go into any team, whether it be FSU, Clemson, or any other team for that matter, leaving the ACC. We all know the grant of rights deal and all that kind of stuff. So maybe we'll talk about that in a future episode, Jordan, and really dive into it and give our opinions or what we would like to see happen. John Sarian says all this pack Big 12 ACC switcheroo talk seems to be clickbait for now.
Yeah, there's not a lot going on that front.
Yeah,
so anybody that claims to have a lot of inside information about what's about impending moves is probably clickbait. And hey, I know a really good guy. If you want to know anything about conference realignment and the inner workings of how that stuff works, make sure you guys tune in on the main channel when Tony Altimore is on. He does a lot of great work, really well connected, and has a really good understanding of how these, how the dynamics of all of this work. So he's kind of my go-to when it comes to realignment stuff.
Yeah, he's definitely dialed in, man. He knows the nuances of it. He knows the inner workings of all those deals and kind of how they happen and how ironclad certain contracts and certain deals are. So yeah, that guy definitely knows what he's talking about. Definitely tune into the main channel when he and Mark Rogers talk about conference expansion and things like that. I don't by no means do I think we've seen the last of conference expansion. But what it's going to look like, who knows, man? Like if you think about college football and how quickly it has changed in the past, I mean, what do you say, decade, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe less than that, 5 or 6 years. I mean, it's crazy how quickly college football has changed. I mean, college football basically has free agency multiple times a year now. We have NIL, which is unfortunately right now, in my opinion, pay for play. That's not what it was ever meant, or not what it was ever pitched to be when we first started talking about NIL, right? When we first started talking about NIL, it was, players should be able to hold, signings and charge for that, or hold appearance, go speak or go hold a camp and get paid for that. And now it's turned into kind of, a recruiting tool and, all sorts of stuff. So I don't think the drastic changes in college football are done by any means. What it's going to look like, I mean, anyone's guess is, that's anyone's guess, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what it's going to look like? Because if you would have told me, 4 or 5 years ago that college football would look like it looked today, I'd be like, no way, man. Come on. No way. That's not going to happen. But here we sit. So we'll see how it goes. My wife's in here. Thank you for getting in here. You guys hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, share our videos. We appreciate it. John Sarian does not agree with you, Jordan. He said cats are the devil.
Well, I know John's a huge dog person, so I wouldn't.
Spawns of Satan.
He's a little biased for sure. He's a huge dog guy. So
yeah, I'm a huge dog guy as well. So I'm more in the John Sarian camp than you may be. So
hey, I have a dog, so I don't. Yeah, I mean, I'm a dog person. I just not like. I don't have the vitriol for cats that some people do.
Yeah. No, I got you.
I see the appeal, for sure.
Felipe gets back in and says, "Watch the FSU versus Clemson highlights from last year. I did watch the game, but I had to update in my mind." Okay.
I mean, I think I have a really good memory of how that game played out. But that game was really interesting because it was really competitive for about a quarter and a half ish, and then honestly, really going almost up until the the end of the first half, and then you kind of felt the momentum change when Jordan Travis took that sack and fumbled. And Clemson goes down and scores to go up 10 at the half.
Yep.
That was kind of a big deal. And then Will Shipley comes out, in the opening kickoff or the second half kickoff, and nearly returns it for a touchdown. And then it's a one, and then that little reverse, double reverse, to DJ, throw into Davis Allen for a touchdown, and then the game was blown wide open in like a really short amount of game time, and that was kind of the nail in the coffin. Florida State did, they put together a couple good drives at the end of the game to make it close, but that kind of put it out of reach.
The game turned pretty quickly.
Yeah.
After that, Jason gets in and says, "What's up, Jordan Bowman?"
What's up, Jason? Jason's a good guy. Very he's regular on the main channel. Loves supporting the show. I really love the support we get from our Michigan guys. Jason's here, Ben is here.
Look.
When John gets in, it's really cool. I love the Michigan representation in the comment section.
The love we get from the Michigan channel is pretty cool. Yeah. I pop over there on pretty much majority of their lives when I can. When I'm not busy, I'll pop over. I'll say hi. I'll comment a few comments in there. It's kind of a back and forth we have with the Michigan guys over there. It's really nice. appreciate the Michigan love over here on the Clemson channel, and we try to return the favor as much as we can for sure. Like Mike gets in and says, any thoughts on RG3's comments on Clemson today?
Yeah, we can definitely get into that.
Yeah.
I thought there were some really interesting comments, and I don't know. Do you want to talk about it now, or do you?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about it now. Since like Mike brought it up, yeah, go ahead. Let's go ahead and dive into RG3's comments on Clemson today and how, his kind of thoughts on what Clemson could be in 2023.
Yeah. So I mean, if you guys didn't know, RG3, we went on a he's an analyst for ESPN now, and so he does a lot of stuff. I can't remember what show it was because I saw it. I really only saw the quote. I didn't see the actual clip.
I did. I think I read like an article about it or saw like a headline about it. Really.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the show that he was particularly talking on.
Yeah, but he was on some show that's blanking. I'm blanking on the name at the moment, and he was talking about Clemson and kind of what his expectations for them going into the year was, and he basically said that he thought that the Garrett Riley hire was going to be a difference maker. He thought that it was the perfect hire for Clemson's situation. The quarterback, Cade Klubnik, he said he was the perfect guy he's the perfect guy for that system, and that Clemson was really going to, they were going to see a lot of some positive effects. And he even went as far as to say Clemson was going to shock the nation and be a national championship contender. So, I thought that was interesting. He said it was a growth moment for Dabo Sweeney as far as, he's a guy that likes to hire from within, but he made an unconventional, at least, by his standards, an unconventional hire to kind of, breathe life back into the offensive side of the ball. And he thinks that this was the perfect move for Clemson. And he thinks they're going to be, right back into the national title conversation. So, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of made it pretty clear that he thought Clemson, with the changes that Dabo Sweeney has made this offseason, I think one of the things that is kind of maybe slept on, I don't know if that's the right word for at Clemson, is the consistency of the defense. And I know the defense has taken a step back since we lost Brent Venables. By no means am I saying that we have the same defense that we had against when Brent Venables was coaching and on the sidelines as the Clemson defensive coordinator. I'm not saying that at all. However, our defense is kind of a mainstay for Clemson. And I think Wes Goodwin has stabilized that to some degree. Yes, are there still question marks on the defensive side of the ball? Did they underperform last year according to the personnel that they had? Yeah, I do think they underperformed to a degree. However, that's kind of a mainstay for Clemson football right now. And I think really RG3 kind of hit on some good points that Dabo Sweeney, he really took a step back this offseason heading into spring, and he reevaluated the Clemson program. And he saw the same kind of things that, us as fans were talking about for, pretty much the entire season last season and really the season before. I know Brandon Streeter was only an offensive coordinator at Clemson for one season, but it was kind of a continuation of what was there from Tony Elliott the season before he went and became Virginia's head coach, right? It was the offense didn't look really any different under Brandon Streeter than it did under Tony Elliott. So I think he brought up some good points. I think Garrett Riley is going to be great for Clemson. I do think that Cade Klubnik is kind of a prototypical quarterback that Garrett Riley's system kind of caters to, a guy that kind of thrives off schedule, a guy that's probably going to make some of his biggest plays when the play breaks down and when he's got to kind of get outside of the pocket and make off-schedule throws and things like that, and receivers got to kind of get open. So I think he brought up some good things there, and I do think Clemson's got a chance this season. to really make some noise in the national landscape. Will they get to the national championship and win the national championship? I mean, look, I'm not ready to declare anything like that. However, I don't know that our receiving core is in as bad shape as we think it is. I think there are a lot of potential for some guys to step up. Okay, just because they haven't done it yet doesn't mean they can't. And I'm talking about guys like Bo Collins, if he can stay healthy, Troy Stellato, if we can finally get that guy on the field. I mean, the things that the coaches have said about him, you got Adam Randall, that guy, if he could, if he can really, throughout the summer get really healthy from, bouncing back from that ACL tear. We do have some really good receivers on the roster. And I know a lot of the Clemson fans have talked about, they wish Dabo Sweeney went to the transfer portal. We all know Clemson scholarship issues and that we can't bring in any transfers right now. We're over the scholarship limit. But I do think we have enough in the receiving room to make this offense work. This is the most talented roster that Garrett Riley has ever coached. And we saw what he did at SMU. We saw what he did at TCU. So that, if you follow the same kind of logic, it should be more of the same, right? So I do think Clemson's got a chance to make some noise on the national landscape this season. And I think they're going to be a really good offense. I really do. I don't think the spring game should be taken any more for what it is other than, a spring game.
Yeah, I 100% agree. This offense is definitely not, on paper isn't anything, to write home about, and it hasn't been for the past couple of years. But
right,
we know the kind of talent that on paper that this team has, and
right,
the kind of guys that have the potential to be really big time contributors on the offensive side of the ball. And so, to your point, Garrett Riley is working with arguably the most talented quarterback he's ever had to coach. And the offense, the talent around him should be the most talented he's ever had. So I'm really excited to see how that how all of that meshes together. And one thing that really stood out to me about RG3's comments was he was really he was really lauding Cade and his ability and well, not just his ability, but also just his presence, his leadership. He said,
right,
he's a guy that knew Cade for a while. He holds a camp in Texas every year. Cade was, went there. And so he's gotten to know him pretty well. And he said that Cade is a natural leader. He's a guy that the offensive guys kind of gravitate towards. And he just kind of has that presence in the locker room. And so I think that was I think that was really a really glowing endorsement of Clemson's starting quarterback. And so if those things are true, I mean, that should automatically be kind of a change of pace from the kind of presence we've had in the quarterback room the past couple of seasons. So I think it's again. I'm not ready to declare just like you. I'm not ready to declare Clemson national champions or anything like that. But I do think this offense has a chance to make some noise, and I think it's imperative that they do because I think Clemson just needs to get its swagger back on that side of the ball. The confidence hasn't been there, the cohesion, the trust in each other, in the system, and the coaches just hasn't been there.
Yeah.
And so
it's been a couple years since a defense has feared Clemson's offense, right? You think back to the Deshaun Watson days, you think back to the early Trevor Lawrence days. Clemson's offense kept defenses up at night. They feared playing Clemson's offense. And I think Garrett Riley has the potential, not that it's 100% guaranteed because nothing is in college football, but his offense has the potential to get Clemson back to being feared as an offense. And, to your point, I think RG3 with as much interactions that he's had with Cade, with his camps in Texas, he's kind of a Texas-based guy. He may know Cade better than all of us. And if he feels that way about Cade Klubnik, that, as to me as a Clemson fan, that makes me feel even better about Cade Klubnik. Not that I was ever doubting him before. I think Cade is the guy at Clemson. I don't think anybody would say any different. But to hear a guy of RG3 stature, say things like that about Cade Klubnik and really talk about him as a person because he has worked with him in camps and things like that. I think that is that's a huge bonus heading into the summer for Clemson football. And I think that that creates some momentum. And you could see last year, particularly in the ACC championship game, the Clemson team react when Cade went in the game. You could see it, right? And that's kind of what RG3 was alluding to, that leadership, that energy that he brings to a team. And I don't think that can be overstated. So, well, again, we'll see. Look, he's got a lot of work to do. Nothing is won in the spring or in the summer. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. John Sarian says you could bet the house nothing will happen for a few years on teams leaving the ACC. Yeah, I don't know. Look, we'll save expansion talk for another episode. Felipe says, looking at the schedule for Clemson and FSU, I can honestly say that one of these two teams can go undefeated this coming season. Both teams are ready to make a huge run this year. I would agree. I think the ACC did themselves a favor by scheduling the Clemson FSU game in September. I think they did it on purpose because they are anticipating. Now, look, again, anything can happen in college football. There's no guarantee that Clemson and FSU will have the best schedule coming out of the ACC this season. But if anybody was putting their money on two teams to play in the ACC championship game this coming season, it would be FSU and Clemson, right? So I think that's kind of what the ACC did, anticipating that game. And they made it in September for the same reasons that, hey, whoever loses is not out of it, right?
100%, yeah. Total gamesmanship by the ACC, the scheduling committee, however they chose to do it. They knew. I mean, and I think it was a good move. I mean, Clemson and Florida State, the two biggest moneymakers in the conference. Mm-hmm. And their game is going to be the game of the year. And with the elimination of divisions, there's a decent chance they play again. So you want to position yourself in the best position to have at least one of them make the playoff. And the ACC hasn't had a playoff team, since Clemson in 2020. So just the perception of the conference hasn't been where you want it to be. And I think having teams make the playoff is a huge deal, and especially having more than one team in that playoff conversation is a huge deal. So, you gotta find ways to create more interest in the sport in your conference, and it's probably not it's not going to fix everything, and it's probably not a huge difference, but it's at least something. So you got to. I'll give the ACC credit when it's deserved. They don't deserve much, but for a lot of things. But I will be fair when it's warranted.
God knows they don't, because they do a ton wrong. But that's one thing they got right. Big Low gets in and says, "Back, baby."
What's going on, Big Low?
We're glad you're back, man. We're glad. That's a great name. That's a great screen name, by the way. John Sarian says, I think RG3 was on some NFL draft show.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah, that's probably what it. I mean, the NFL draft has been kind of the talk of the town. That's kind of been the thing going on in sports right now. other than the NBA playoffs. So he was probably on an NFL draft show.
Speaking of which, do you want to you want to kind of talk about just briefly kind of talk about, because we did have the NFL draft show, for the first round last week, but we didn't really get to talk about, some of the guys that got selected later.
Yeah. So for those of you that weren't here last show, we did a special edition of the All In show, and we did a watch along with the first round of the NFL draft. So we obviously saw Myles Murphy get drafted. We saw Brian Brzee get drafted, but we did not see the other 4 Clemson Tigers get drafted to their various teams. So yeah, let's do a draft recap. Obviously, I just mentioned Brian Brzee and Myles Murphy getting drafted to their respective teams. Were you surprised at how long it took for a Clemson player to get drafted?
A little bit. Well, a little bit, because I kind of thought that, there were going to be teams that were going to bet on Myles Murphy's, just physical talents and all of that. But I know there was some hesitancy among some teams because of, just his 2022 tape wasn't nearly as good as 2021. And just they were kind of, he played hurt, at times last year. And so they were just there was kind of some concern there. But I didn't think there was a chance that, they would, Myles Murphy would like slip out of the first round, especially after he tested so well.
Yeah.
So I think it would, at the end of the day, I think the landing spot made sense. And I think honestly, I think it's probably the situation he went to in Cincinnati is one of the best he could have possibly ended up in. So
I mean, he goes to a really, really good team.
Yeah.
So shout out to him.
And more importantly, the Bengals have done a really good job on the defensive line. Obviously, DJ Reader's already there. They needed some help, as far as the defensive end position. And, I know they have like Trey Hendrickson and some other guys in that lineup, but they're trying to kind of boost the edge rusher position. And I think Myles Murphy is the perfect guy to do that. And the Bengals have done a really good job of developing the defensive line in recent years. So I think this is a match made in heaven, and I think he gets to rejoin some of his old, one of his. He never played with T. Higgins, but he did play with Jackson Carman.
He did.
But
he's got some Clemson Tiger friends there, right? He's got DJ Reader,
T. Higgins, Jackson Carman.
He got Jackson Carman. So he's got some friends that went to the same college as him, and he lands in a really good situation. I mean, they're a very good team, and I think it's a place where he can get developed. I know, obviously, there were questions heading into the draft or through the draft process about, kind of his motor or, how much he, kind of plays taken off and things like that for Myles Murphy. And, I know we talked about on draft night about how, Dabo Sweeney kind of called him out at one point in time in the season about him kind of taking plays off and not finishing. But I mean, the dude has all the potential in the world. And I think he's capable of being as good as he wants to be. So really happy for him, man. Really happy for where he ended up. And then Brian Brzee ended up getting picked right after him. So me and you were sitting there struggling on the draft show, waiting for a Clemson player to get picked. And then Clemson players get picked back-to-back in pick 28 and pick 29. Brian Brzee went to the New Orleans Saints. Are you happy with where Brian Brzee ended up? And were you sure that he would go in the first round?
I had my doubts because of I'd say I probably had like a 70, maybe 80% confidence that Brian Brzee would go in the first round, but I wasn't entirely sure because, the injuries, the stuff he had went through. I had seen him mocked in some, he tested really well, and I'd seen him mocked, enough times in the first round to feel okay. But, there were some thoughts that he possibly could slip out of the first round as well. But no, I think this is a great pickup for the Saints. And this really, I mean, throughout like the last decade or so, I mean, yeah, the Saints have had guys like, have had Drew Brees on the offensive side of the ball, and, they've had some really good offenses. But one thing that's been consistent for a long while has been the Saints and their development on the defensive side of the ball. And so they needed interior pass rush help. And I think Brian Brzee is as good as, as far as talent wise, as good as anybody in that draft. So I think this was a almost perfect landing spot for him. And I think he's a guy that's going to be able to contribute right away. And he has the versatility to play along the line, which I think the Saints are really going to like. So really happy for him. It was really cool to the video of him getting drafted, of his family wearing the Ella Strong shirts. That was really cool.
That was great, man.
So
happy to see that guy get drafted. He went through probably one of the toughest years that I've ever seen a college football player go through. Just with all the off the field stuff, everybody knows about, his sister having cancer and, her dying in the middle of the season, basically, right after the game where she was supposed to be honored. She was supposed to do the Tiger Walk that weekend, and then she ends up passing away that same weekend or shortly after that. So a really rough season for Brian. He also had some health struggles. He had an infection later on. I think he was just dealing with a lot last season, right? And maybe he didn't perform to the best of his ability, and maybe that's why he dropped to pick 29. But at the end of the day, the guy was a first-round talent through and through. And I'm happy that he got drafted in the first round. I'm happy that he realized his dream. And then moving on to Trenton Simpson, third-round pick 86 to the Baltimore Ravens. So the Baltimore Ravens pick up Trenton Simpson, kind of a franchise that is known for their defense through and through. I mean, when you think about defense, you think about the Baltimore Ravens. You think about Ray Lewis. You think about those type of defenses, those hard-nosed defenses that used to win championships back in the day before Patrick Mahomes destroyed the league. No, I'm just kidding. Before offense became the focal point of the NFL. Those guys were winning championships with defense. So super happy for Trenton Simpson. I thought maybe he would go a little bit higher in the draft, but third round pick 86. That's a big deal still. I think maybe he kind of lost some momentum because of his position change last season at Clemson. I think they thought that they were going to kind of help him in the draft process and make him a more rounded player. But I think maybe it kind of worked against him, and I think maybe he put some bad tape out there for the NFL people to pick apart, because at the end of the day, the NFL draft is all about – it's not about finding a reason to draft somebody. It's about finding a reason not to draft somebody, right? So I think the position change for Trenton Simpson last year kind of worked against him. But the Baltimore Ravens, they got them a dude. Make no mistake about it. I believe Trenton Simpson will be one of the elite linebackers in the league for a long time to come. But orange colored shades on right now. So,
but no, I tend to agree. And I mean, Simpson's drop. I had a feeling he wasn't going to. I pretty much knew he wasn't going to go first round. But I was a little surprised to see him slide all the way back to the third. But But when you think about it, and the stuff you mentioned, just the position change really just did him no favors. It was not great for a lot of the year. The experiment didn't work. Just they wanted to develop him as an inside linebacker and playing more in the box and kind of being a more traditional linebacker. And he didn't have the instincts for him. and he didn't really pick it up as fast as they had hoped. And, just there were just times last year where he took a lot of poor angles. He misread his keys, didn't trigger fast enough on run fits, just kind of seemed lost sometimes out there. But what always flashed for me for Trenton Simpson was just his obviously the athleticism is off the charts. I mean, he's 6'3", 240, runs a 4.4. He's got like a 40-inch vertical. I mean, the stuff he does at his size is pretty incredible, and just his speed and his quickness. I think that's something that perfectly fits what the Baltimore Ravens want. They've always drafted guys that fly to the ball and that can really, really move in space. I think he's a really great guy in man coverage. I think you can ask him to do a lot of different things. And obviously, I think one of his best traits is his ability as a pass rusher. That's just something he was always good at Clemson. His 2021 tape at Sam when he was that was some pretty special stuff. And I think that's kind of what the Ravens are betting on, and I think he'll be able to offer a lot for them.
That's kind of his natural fit, right? Yeah. So,
but I think he landed in a really, really good spot. And the Ravens, they have, as far as NFL team, they draft about as good as anybody. They are one of the best talent evaluators in the entire league. They really do have a really good eye for what fits what they want to do. So I think Trenton I think he ended up in a really good spot. And it's not about where you it's not about when you get drafted, it's about where you get drafted.
Sometimes it's good to slide in the draft, right? Yeah. Sometimes you end up in a way better spot than you would. Like when you're Trevor Lawrence getting drafted first overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars, to an organization that has the guy who shouldn't be named as head coach, and you basically your first season in the NFL is a wash. Yeah. Sometimes it's good to slide in the draft. I'm not saying always, but sometimes it's good to slide in the draft. Sometimes you end up in a better situation. So let's move on to KJ Henry. He was picked in the 5th round, picked 126 to the Washington Commanders. His dad's favorite team his entire life. He was a Washington fan his entire life. I think his dad was super excited about it. Everybody knows the story behind KJ Henry and his dad, and kind of what NIL enabled KJ to do for his dad, and getting him the treatment that he needed and stuff like that. But super happy for KJ Henry. One of my favorite Clemson Tigers. Just a guy that is really good with the media. Did he play with our emotions at the end of last season? Maybe a little bit, but we can forgive him for that. I knew he wasn't coming back. I knew he wasn't coming back either. But honestly, I didn't think half the dudes that came back were coming back. So, for what it's worth, KJ Henry, hope he has a great career. It was super cool to see the post with him and his dad wearing like the old school Washington jersey from way back when, and just being super excited for his son. Just nice to see that guy get drafted. I had no doubts he would get drafted. 5th round, I don't know. I thought he would go a little bit higher, to be completely honest. But at the end of the day, he got drafted. So and the thing with KJ, and it didn't really surprise me to see him go in the 5th round. I think KJ Henry is. I think he was one of Clemson's best players this past season, and one of the things about him is he's a guy that didn't really have the athletic traits and the physical tools that a lot of some of the higher defensive ends ahead of him had, and I think that hurt him. But I think where KJ really wins is, I mean, obviously he's got a really good pass rush bag. I think he's
he knows how to play the game. He's a smart football player.
Yeah.
And I think, where he lacked in some of the athleticism that some of the guys picked ahead of him did, I think he more than makes up for with technique, with his football IQ, and just his ability. And I'm happy for him because it was a guy. It took a while, and because he didn't really have those natural, those natural God-given talents that some of his peers had. Yes, he was a 5-star, but he didn't really have the high end, traits that a lot of these teams look for. So I think
you've heard Dabo talk about KJ Henry in the past, and he was a guy that he needed some work when he came to Clemson. He had to develop. He was a guy that came to Clemson, and yes, was he a 5-star? Yeah, but was he ready? No.
Yeah.
He was not like some of these other 5-stars that are, made ready, like a Peter Woods. This guy's ready to play day one, right? That was not KJ Henry. No. And I think there's something to be said about those guys. And I think KJ Henry's made of the right stuff because he stuck around, he improved, and he learned and he developed as a player. And I think that will translate into a longer NFL career because, yes, does he lack the God-given ability that some of the other defensive ends have or the physical capabilities that some of them have? But he has the technique. He has the work ethic. He's developed the leadership that will take him further in NFL locker rooms than some of those guys that can just rest on their athletic ability and their natural talents, right? So I think that will serve KJ Henry very well when it comes to the NFL. And I think he'll be a guy that we point to as Clemson fans in the NFL to be like, see, you see the guys we put in the NFL? KJ Henry will be one of those guys. I really do think that. I think KJ Henry will be one of those guys that we point to 5-10 years down the road, like, see who we put in the NFL? You see these guys? And that, that's just recruiting tools for you. Yeah. When you develop guys like that and then they go to the NFL and then they have long careers and then they have success when they were selected in the 5th round, that's recruiting tools for your university. There's no way around it. So super happy for KJ Henry. How about our boy Jordan McFadden, longtime left tackle for Clemson football, picked in the 5th round, going to the Los Angeles Chargers. He's going to be out there blocking for Justin Herbert. What do you think about that?
Honestly, another just home run, slam dunk landing spot for Jordan McFadden.
I know, right?
And listen, I got the orange colored shades on, but I really do think this is a perfect fit for him.
Yeah.
When you think about the Chargers last year, they took Jamari Sawyer, the tackle from Georgia, kind of a tweener guy that, he had the requisite length, but he was kind of undersized to play tackle. And he had a really, he came in late for the Chargers last season when one of their tackles got hurt and played absolutely phenomenal. And I think they drafted Jordan McFadden in that same kind of mold. He's a guy that can play along the line. And he's played along the line at Clemson. Obviously, he started out at right tackle.
Yep.
Became Clemson's left tackle, was a multi-year starter there, but he's cross-trained all along the line. He played guard at times early in his career. So I think he's a guy that can really he offers a lot of versatility. I think he's going to be a really, really nice piece for them. And he's just a really, really good football player. Just a little 3-star guy out of Spartanburg. Yeah. Nobody ever heard of him. But he was a guy that, and the story that his recruitment is pretty cool, and and it was really cool to see him get drafted because he's a guy that just he's kind of the epitome of what Clemson likes to pride itself on, and just a hometown kid, and that went through the system and really developed into a really, really good player, and good enough to get drafted. And so I'm really happy for Jordan McFadden. I think he's in a really good spot, really good coaching staff, and he's blocking for a really good quarterback. Don't know if he's going to start right away, but I think he's going to be a guy that they can that'll definitely be in the depth chart, and a guy that they can put in in a pinch. And so I'm really excited to see how his career kind of plays out.
I think he'll get his chance somewhere along the offensive line. If that's with the Los Angeles Chargers, then great. But yeah, to your point, he's a versatile offensive lineman. He's played tackle, he's played guard, he's been cross-trained very well at Clemson. That's one of the things that they do very well with their offensive linemen. So look for him to make an impact at some point in time. He's just going to need an opportunity. So hopefully he gets that opportunity with the Chargers. But if not, maybe someone else, And then our last guy that got drafted, that would be the 5th round, pick 175 to the Los Angeles Rams. And that is our tight end, Davis Allen. What do you think about that pickup for the Los Angeles Rams?
Really, I mean, it's a really great pick. You could, if any of you guys that have been listening to this show for long enough, you know how much we rant and rave about Davis Allen, and how much we lament his usage at times at Clemson. But I think he's going to be one of those guys we're going to look back, 5 to 10 years from now, we're going to be like, man, he was on our team, and that was his production. We used him that much.
He's going to be Davis Allen, dude.
Yeah,
he's going to be Davis Allen, man. This dude, we're going to look back in 5 to 7 years from now, and we're going to be like, we had, we had that dude on this dude's on his way to a Hall of Fame career in the NFL.
You're going Hall of Fame. I wasn't going to go that far, but
what was his numbers at Clemson? Wait, what? I'm telling you, this dude, I believe in Davis Allen. I really do. I believe in Davis Allen. And maybe I'm overstating it. Maybe I got my orange covered glasses on, and I probably do. Hall of Fame is probably too much to put on him.
I wasn't going to go that far, but I do. I think Davis Allen is going to be a multi-year. He's going to have a long NFL career. I think he's a really good inline blocker. I think if you're a tight end that can block on the line, you have a lot of value to teams, and you're going to stick around for a long time. But I think he can catch.
He can be Dwayne Allen for sure.
Yeah, he can catch. He's a really good red zone threat. He's not the most athletic guy in the world, so he's not going to burn. He's not going to burn guys. He's not.
But he can stretch the field up the middle, which is where Clemson failed to use him time and time again, which is what we screamed on this channel. And maybe he's not a Hall of Fame tight end at the end of it, but I'm telling you, this dude is going to be a guy. Yeah, Davis Allen will be a guy that the NFL knows for several years to come. Yeah. I really do think that because he has the ability to stretch the middle of the field. He can block. He's a physical guy, and he has enough athletic ability to exploit coverages, especially if you start putting linebackers on him because they're too small and they're too slow. Not that he's a super fast guy or a super athletic guy, but he's fast and athletic enough to exploit those guys, especially down the middle of the field. I think Clemson grossly underutilized this dude. And I think
at least in the passing game.
Definitely in the passing game. 100% in the passing game. We screamed about it for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
On this channel, definitely last season we screamed about it a bunch.
Yeah.
That's only because we just started this show last season. So
yeah.
At least me and you. So the dude's going to be good. the guy's going to be good. No doubt about it. What about some of our guys that got picked up in free agency? Let's talk about those guys. Let me see who we got. We got Ngata got picked up by
the Eagles.
Philly, correct? Right? Yeah, Ngata got picked up by Philly. How do you see that shaking out? You think Ngata's going to make the roster, or how do you see Ngata going at Philly?
That's kind of one I don't really know. I don't really have a good feel on how how I think he's going to do. But at the very least, he signed one of the highest undrafted free agent deals in the league.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So
I did not know that.
Whoever his agent was
doing work.
He did a really good job. But so I think that's really great because I wasn't very confident that Joseph Ngata was going to get drafted. So I thought it was really nice to see that he got picked up and signed a really big deal, because that's still life-changing money right there.
Yeah, for sure,
even if
man.
Even if he's just on a practice squad for a while, and but he's a guy that came into Clemson with a lot of hype and just the injuries, inconsistency, inability. He was behind some really good receivers as well, especially early in his career, but just never really put it all together. But he showed flashes, the physical tools you can clearly see, and so I think he's definitely worth taking a shot on if you're an NFL team, if you want to pick him up in as an undrafted guy.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested and intrigued to see how how that turns out. If he turns out to be a really good NFL player, we're going to be looking back like, this era of this era of Clemson football wasn't it, but
wasn't good. Wasn't good.
I'm interested to see how. I'm rooting for him. I thought that he could have used another year, and I thought he could have benefited from another year, especially if this Garrett Riley hire turns out the way we all hope it does. I think he would have been one of the guys that really would have benefited from it. But happy to see him get a chance, and sometimes really that's all you need. So
hey, look,
we'll see.
Some dudes, all you need is a shot in the NFL, and hopefully he, hopefully he makes the best of it. And then we got our boy BT Potter over at the Pittsburgh Steelers. What do you think about that?
Happy for BT. I was kind of holding out hope that maybe he would get drafted in the 7th round or something like that. But
yeah, I thought
that push the Clemson draftee total to 7. That would have been cool. But
I thought maybe he would, but it wasn't in the cards for us.
Yeah, and really, if you're an NFL team, why would you spend draft capital on a kicker? Well, the 49ers did that. I think it was the 49ers that did it in like the 4th round because they're stupid. But I don't know why you draft a kicker when it's like you're just throwing a pick down the drain. I'll never understand it unless it's a Clemson kicker, and then I'm all for it. So I fully embrace that double standard. But seriously, like, why would you ever do that?
My screen's freezing up. I don't know.
Yeah, you're frozen on my screen. Am I frozen?
On my screen, you are.
Oh, that's great. Well, at least we can still hear each other. So I don't know I don't know what everybody else is saying.
Yeah, I don't know what the audience can hear, but I can still hear you. Goodness.
It seems like we're in good. Oh, okay. I think you're moving again. All right. I think we're good. That was weird.
Oh, moving again. Okay. All right. Here we go. Good job. Way to go. Only I'm frozen, according to John Sari.
Of course it's you.
Of course it's me, man. It's always me, man. What is the deal? Why does the internet hate me so much? I'm just kidding, though.
All good now. I think it should be all good. But yeah, no, happy for BT. Glad he's getting a shot. Don't draft kickers unless it's a Clemson kicker, and then I'm all for it. So
that's right. Only draft Clemson kickers. Speaking of kickers, let's talk about the guys that have transferred out of Clemson. I think that's a good segue. Let's talk about the guys that have transferred out of Clemson after the spring. So we got two guys that have transferred out of Clemson. The first one we'll talk about is Malcolm Green. He ended up at Virginia with Tony Elliott. So kind of what is your what's your take on Malcolm Green transferring, one, and two, his landing spot?
Well, I mean, we did last show, or I think last show, was it last show or the week or the show before that, we talked a little bit about it. But
yeah, 2 shows ago we talked about it. Yeah.
So obviously, I think Malcolm went to obviously he went back to his home state. His brother is an incoming freshman at Virginia. Obviously, he has the familiarity with Tony Elliott and some of the support staff guys there. So honestly, I mean, I think it's a really good spot for him, and he's got I mean, Virginia really needs DB help. They lost a lot of key contributors to the portal and elsewhere. So they definitely need some help in the secondary. That was one of the lone bright spots for that team last season. So, Tony Elliott getting a guy that he's familiar with and a guy that has a lot of talent and can definitely play. He's got a really good chance to start. I think this is a good spot for him, and he gets to play in front of his, his home. He's closer to home, and he gets to play with his brother. So I think it's a pretty good situation for him.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm sure Dabo and Tony Elliott talked. I'm sure Dabo had a lot to do with kind of his landing spot and helping him find that landing spot. I hope he goes out for Virginia. I hope he starts. I hope he has a great, last season in college football. I thought he could get a lot of playing time at maybe nickel this season. But obviously he wanted to he wants to start at corner. So hopefully he gets the opportunity at Virginia to start at corner. He obviously was not going to start at corner for Clemson this season. So if his goal is to start at corner, I completely understand it. It's his home state. And it's a coach that he's super familiar with. So I think in a lot of ways it makes sense. Now, let's talk about this kicker that transferred that hit that 51-yarder. What's up with that, man? What's up with that, bro?
Yeah.
Everybody was like, oh, maybe this is our new starting kicker. Maybe
Liam Boyd.
Liam Boyd. Maybe Robert Gunn is not going to be the starting kicker. Maybe Liam Boyd is the starting kicker because he hit a 51-yarder in spring and all this kind of stuff. And then Liam Boyd transfers out of Clemson. What's up with that, man?
Yeah. We won't spend too much time on it but it's a kicker. But
it's a kicker. It is what it is.
But
he wasn't on scholarship, by the way.
Yeah, and we didn't.
So
pretty much, almost nobody knew his name before he made that field goal. So
and it doesn't. By the way, for all the Clemson fans out there, it doesn't help our scholarship numbers that he transferred because he wasn't on scholarship to begin with.
Yeah.
So
but that's impressive that you found a guy that can just nail a 50 plus yarder like he did and on a walk-on scholarship. But hey,
shout out to Clemson, bro. Dabo Sweeney farms them everywhere.
Yeah, but hey, enters the portal. I mean, obviously that's kind of the writing on the wall is that Robert Gunn is now he's the front runner and he's the leader in the clubhouse as far as starting kicker, which we all assumed to begin with. He was, the number one kicker in his class and all that. So I mean that was kind of the assumption anyway. But I thought it was I thought it was really funny when I saw that on Twitter. I was like, wow, this man nailed a 50+ yarder in the spring game, and then everybody knows his name, and then he just dips. So that was good. That was funny. But it's walk on, being a walk on, having to pay your own way. That's a lot. And hey, he can, if he wants to get a chance at a scholarship, he can put that. He's like, I can I can nail some 50+ yarders. I got a leg on me, so
Hey,
anybody that wants to
way to maximize your claim to fame there, man.
Yeah.
You had a 51-yarder in Clemson spring game, and then you transfer out as a walk-on.
Yeah.
Way to maximize your 15 minutes of fame, I guess.
Yeah, but best of luck to him.
Yeah, best of luck to him for sure, for sure. All right. All right. Let's talk. Let's talk a little recruiting. We got any recruiting updates for our Clemson Tigers here? What's going on in the world of recruiting here in the summer? That's usually the time that Clemson kind of gets their class for the most part together. So do you have any recruiting news for us tonight? Any updates?
Well, I mean, not a ton. There has been a new development as far as Clemson's quarterback recruiting is concerned. They've kind of they seem to have locked in on their their fourth attempt at getting a quarterback commit. Man, he goes by the name. And this is going to be really funny. I believe his name is Ethan Grunkenmeyer. Is that his first name? I think his first name is Ethan. 3-star kid. Blanking on where he's from. I have not done a ton of research and have not looked at his tape yet. But he's supposed to throw for Garrett Riley. He's supposed to camp. For Garrett Riley and throw in front of him and see if he gets an offer. So that's kind of the guy that Clemson has shown the most interest in. That's kind of where the tea leaves are headed. But he's kind of a guy that's kind of they think he's going to be a really fast riser in the rankings. He's gotten a lot of interest from some other really big time Power 5 programs. So, but I can't give you any more than that. He's from Ohio. Thank you. Go Tigers. Yeah. I haven't done a lot of looking at his tape, so I can't really say much beyond that. So when I get a chance to look at it, I will definitely give a more in-depth review of what that of what his skill sets are. But hey, if Garrett Riley's interested, he at least has some talent. So we'll see how it goes. That's really the kind of the big development. Other than that, there's there's some promising news on the wide receiver front.
Okay.
Obviously, Clemson has done a really good job. I think they're going to be able to get those June officials for a lot of their main, big time receiver targets. Ironically, I think the only one that isn't coming to the June recruiting weekend is Braylon Staley, but that's reportedly because Clemson has already done such a good job, and they don't really need to see anymore, and they kind of want to use the visits for another school. So that's going to be the. I think that Clemson is in really good shape for a lot of their receiver targets. But it's still a wait and see. It's not really sure. I think Clemson is the perceived leader in the clubhouse for at least two of them, Braylon Staley and Alex Taylor. Mike Matthews you're definitely in a really good position for. TJ Moore, you're battling Florida. I think Florida got a prediction on 3 for TJ Moore earlier today, but I still think that race is very much in the air. Bryant Wesco is going to be at the weekend as well, and Cam Coleman as well. So hey, I think Clemson is, and I think am I leaving out anyone? Ryan Wingo, I don't really. I think Clemson's kind of. I don't really feel great about where that one's headed, so I'm not even really going to talk too much about Ryan Wingo. But other than that, I do think that Clemson has done a pretty good job this cycle as far as positioning themselves well for to at least get a really good a really nice wide receiver haul. And there's a couple of really big time targets that I think they have a really good shot at. So, but got to see. We're closing on that June official visit weekend really, really fast. And obviously that's going to tell the tale of how developments are on that front. So yeah, that's about it. I don't really have anything else of note. So
yeah, for sure. All right. Hold on one second.
Braylon Staley worried because Tennessee. Yep, Tennessee is definitely they are definitely very much in it for Braylon Staley. But Clemson's going to have to defend them off, and Tennessee has obviously put together a lot of really intriguing and really enticing benefits for a receiver like Braylon Staley. I mean, you see the success that Jalen Hyatt had in that offense. Another former South Carolina receiver. It's Clemson has got that's going to be really tough to compete with, just because you haven't really been able to put together the kind of passing success that Tennessee has over the past couple of seasons. So definitely. Let me see. What else are we talking about? John Hendricks asks, how is Sammy Brown looking? Are we really in the hunt, or is he a Georgia guy? No, John Hendricks. Clemson is very much in that race. I really do think it's a Clemson Georgia battle. Who leads it's not very clear right now, but I definitely think those are the two leaders in the clubhouse, and I think Clemson is very much has a shot. I mean, but Sammy, he has a really great relationship with the Clemson staff. He's visited a bunch of times. He's also visited Georgia a bunch of times. But I do think Clemson has definitely put their best foot forward, and now it's just all about can you close? So you're battling against the back-to-back defending national champions, and that's always going to be a tough thing to do. But I think Clemson has done a really good job, and Sammy really does love what Clemson has to offer. So I think they are very much in it. I don't think he's a lock anywhere right now. Edward says, I've watched his tape. As far as Ethan Grunkenmeyer, he says, I've watched his tape. He's mobile quarterback, good arm and accuracy. Well, that definitely sounds like a Garrett Riley quarterback. So,
yep.
But I'll definitely make sure I do my homework on that as well. Drew G says, wide receiver use status is fading. It doesn't have to, but you definitely don't have as much. You definitely don't have as much credibility as you had at that position. Obviously, for the past 2 seasons, and that at the end of the day, you got to get your credibility back. And I think that's why it's so important that Clemson has a big season. The wide receivers really need to step up, and the passing game has to look similar to what we're familiar with. So you got to get your credibility back, and winning cures a lot of what ails you, and winning big and winning impressively cures a lot of what ails you. So that's just got to be something you got to get your swagger back on, at that position. You just don't have it.
Let's see. John Sarin said something earlier that I want to highlight. He said, according to the board geniuses, the problem isn't that Dabo is out of scholarships. It's that he gives too many out to walk-ons. That'll never change. It's in Dabo's DNA, in my opinion. We've talked a bit about Clemson scholarship issues this season. It's kind of a COVID issue. It's kind of an issue that, Dabo didn't think that the people that came back were going to come back. I don't know. I mean, everyone wants to kill Dabo about taking scholarships from walk-ons. Everybody wants to kill Dabo about not going to the transfer portal. So you take scholarships from walk-ons, but you don't go to the transfer portal. No, I mean, it's back and forth. It is what it is. I'm done with it. Look, scholarships are from year to year. If you don't like it, then it is what it is.
And to John's point, I mean, yeah, that you're never going to see Dabo not do it. I think the scholarship the walk-on scholarship thing is one of the things that makes Clemson unique. I mean, I don't, in a vacuum, I don't have a problem with it. I just,
not at all.
There definitely does need to be some better roster management, practices in the future. But I don't think that, completely doing away with how you go about, doing that. Your walk-on program, I think, is still a really cool part of what makes Clemson special. So I don't think you need to get rid of that entirely. Just
not at all.
Manage it a little bit better.
Not at all. Yeah,
but obviously you didn't expect to have the guys you did, and COVID, guys having the COVID year has definitely influenced that. This is because this is the first time that Clemson's really had a problem like this. But hey. That's just kind of the reality of college football, at least until 2026, when all those 2020 recruits that got that also fell under the COVID rule umbrella. When those guys cycle out, then you'll finally be back to normal, and guys having their normal, 5 years, maximum of 5 years, barring like a medical red shirt and stuff like that.
Do we really have 3 more years of this?
Yeah.
Holy moly, dude!
Literally everybody in Division I in 2020 got an extra year, so that included the freshmen from that season.
Oh my goodness!
Those freshmen have a COVID year to use if they want.
This is crazy.
It is crazy.
This is crazy, dude. Oh man!
It was a good decision at the time, but it didn't have a lot of foresight, and now it's made
It was, but now it seems like a terrible decision. Like this is
there wasn't a lot of foresight there for sure.
Yeah. Maybe you should have limited it to like juniors and seniors at the time. I don't know. I mean, I get the rule. I get the extension that they gave. Obviously, it seemed like the right thing to do at the time, but maybe we should have limited it. Just slightly.
Yeah. Because it's definitely made roster management a lot more difficult. And
it's a nightmare for coaches right now.
Yeah. For sure.
Look, I would never trade, Tyler Davis coming back or Ruka Rororo or XT. I mean, or, Justin Maskell. That's great. I'm glad. Sheridan Jones. Glad they're coming back. But it does make roster management, if you're a coach, an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
So, well, what do we got here in the comment section? We talked about Big Mick. We did talk about Green going to Virginia. We're happy he's going to his home. Hopefully he gets an opportunity to start at corner, whereas he would have started probably at like nickel at Clemson. So I think his real goal is to start at corner and kind of try to showcase his skills there. So hopefully that works out for him. He's there with a familiar coach in Tony Elliott, somebody that knows the Clemson program intimately, probably somebody that talked to Dabo Sweeney a lot about him going there. Probably Dabo Sweeney set it up to him go there and what he wanted to do. So happy for him landing where he did.
David Wood comes in. He says 2 Clemson transfers are getting an NFL shot this year. Linebacker Mike Jones and App State quarterback. Yeah, Chase Bright. Also Hunter Johnson as well. so all three of those guys got rookie minicamp invites. I was surprised to see that Hunter Johnson got one, but
Hunter Johnson got a rookie minicamp invite?
Yeah, he did. He did.
Hey, shout out to Hunter Johnson, dude.
Hey, good, good for him.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Getting a shot. Obviously Mike Jones and Chase Bryce as well. Both
absolutely
look really good players, and that had their moments at Clemson. Mike Jones was a starter for at least for 2020 before he transferred out, and we all know what the heroics of Chase Bryce from the 2018 season.
Chase Bryce will forever live in infamy in Clemson lore. Because he contributed to that 2018 season. Absolutely. Shout out to those guys. Glad they're getting an opportunity. Super happy for their ties to Clemson as well. Let's see. No. Hunter transfers back to Clemson.
Is he? Wait, is he? He transferred, but yeah, we know. Yeah, but he got a rookie camp mini.
Yeah, he's on to the NFL. He's doing a rookie mini camp. Probably trying to just kind of test the waters. Yeah. Kind of one of those things like, hey, I just got to know, right? If I can make it. I know Hunter Johnson really wants to coach. I think he definitely got the coaching itch, which is why he came back to Clemson as a grad transfer, basically a grad assistant in the quarterback room. But you got to scratch that itch, right? Maybe you can be a lifelong backup in the NFL, man, and make a whole bunch of money. Who would turn that down, right? Like, I'd be a backup quarterback in the NFL if I could, make that kind of money, right? Who cares?
Yeah.
Hopefully he can parlay his rookie minicamp into something like that.
Do the Who's have a quarterback now though? I don't know. I mean, I know there was they didn't. I think they took a transfer. I think they took one transfer. Tony Muskett. I don't remember where he was from. But I think it's a battle. I think Jay Woolfolk is probably the leader in the clubhouse there. But I know there was a quarterback battle during the spring. So we'll see how that goes. They definitely have they have a lot of improvement that needs to be had on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
So we'll see if either one of those guys can play.
For sure.
Hunter had a rough going these last year. Yeah, I mean, his time at Northwestern definitely wasn't. Yeah, it definitely wasn't great.
He struggled immensely at Northwestern for sure. But at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know. I know he was a highly recruited quarterback. Sometimes it just doesn't translate to the next level. That's just, kind of how it goes sometimes. Big Mick says Hunter can make an NFL roster. He probably could. I mean,
maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know.
I'm glad he's getting a shot.
At least he's getting an opportunity. And if he doesn't, then at least he got a shot. That's better than a lot of people get.
And I'm sure he's still got that. That grad assistant position still waiting for him if he wants.
Oh yeah. I think he's definitely got the coaching thing lined up at Clemson, for sure. I think Dabo Sweeney expects him to, kind of pursue the NFL as far as it'll go. And then, he'll kind of have that grad assistant or, some sort of analyst or something on the coaching staff that'll be waiting for him if he wants it. So, but again, Dabo takes scholarships from walk-ons, and he don't care about players. So,
Dabo he hates his players.
He hates his players. He don't want them to make any money. He hates NIL. He don't want them to get any sort of dollars for their signatures or their services, whatever. Dabo hates his players for sure. That's I don't know.
That's the narrative out there.
That's the narrative out there. I mean, I'm just like, what are we doing in college football, man? Like, just because a football coach brings up concerns about a certain thing and how he sees it affecting college football, suddenly, I don't care about players. I mean, Dabo may be one of the most player-friendly coaches out there. At least when it comes to looking out for their well-being and when it comes to looking out for them in the future. Sure. I don't think there's very many Clemson players out there that are struggling because they didn't have the proper opportunities in college to live life after football. I don't think that's a thing at Clemson. Maybe at other universities, but probably not at Clemson. I don't know, though.
I'm hoping Coach Ski can close on Edric Houston. Yep, big-time 5-star defensive end. Did an interview with Luke W. I know that name. Luke, I think it's Win something, I think. And he likes what Clemson is selling in the coaches. So, fingers crossed. Yep, there's still a ways to go in that recruitment, but Clemson is definitely in it. Yeah, Winstel, thank you.
Winstel,
so definitely think Clemson's definitely done a good job with him, and definitely in a really, really good position. And he's a guy you definitely would love to have in this class. They're trying to, Clemson has been open about, well, not open, but it's well known that Clemson is trying to beef up the profile of, the guys they take at the defensive end position. They want to get bigger there. They still want them to be really athletic, but they want to, have more size. And so you're really seeing Clemson on both lines really do a lot to kind of to get bigger. And I think that's definitely what you need to do, because I think where Clemson has suffered, in some of the games against better competition is they didn't match up as well in the line of scrimmage as you would like. So that definitely needs to be something that gets better. And Clemson has taken the steps to do that for sure. Skalski is a linebacker grad. So yeah, he is. He's there with Coach Venables.
Yeah, Coach Brent Venables over there trying to make some linebackers wear neck rolls and get ejected from games.
Hey, no, I'm just kidding. If Clemson were to hire James Skalski, I would be all for it.
I'd be all for it. Everybody want to make fun of neck roll, make fun about his targeting penalties. Look, that dude was all in. He was bought in on defense. That guy was an amazing.
Dallas should just one up Brent BV and go get Ben Boulware. Just
facts, dude. Facts. Let's go get the OG Skalski. Was Ben Boulware. That's the dude that paved the way for Skalski. Yeah. Let's go get him at Clemson, since Brent Venables wants to hire Skalski. Let's do that for sure.
Hey, but Ben's doing his own thing. He has a really successful business in Anderson. So he's doing his thing. But
he's over there running the junkyard in Anderson.
Yeah.
So, that's a gym, by the way, for any of you guys out there.
Yeah.
Not an actual junkyard. Junkyard the gym. For those of you that didn't know, I don't know. I don't know how plugged in these people are. I'm assuming they're really plugged in because it's 10:34 at night and they're on here watching us talk about Clemson football. So
Good point.
They probably already know Ben Boulware has a gym called the Junkyard in Anderson, South Carolina. So. All right, let's see.
That one on Fields was a weak call, period. Yeah, well, it is what it is. The rule is the rule, spearing and all that. But yeah, I thought it was. I do think the rule is definitely silly for sure. And definitely change the complexion of that game. You take your leader off the field, but hey, it is what it is. I didn't complain when Sean Wade got kicked out the year before.
Nope.
So the rule is the rule. You don't have to like it. But it was the right call. It was, sure, I agree it was weak, but
it was a weak call.
You can't really argue that the call was incorrect.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I think we're pretty much done with our show tonight, for the most part. Just waiting on our comment section to bring up different topics. If you guys want us to talk about something, go ahead and put it in the comment section. If you guys got questions for me or Jordan Bowman, go ahead and put it in the comment section. What do you think? So our softball team, I want to talk a little bit about our softball team. Maybe that's not anything that anyone cares about in the chat section tonight. But do you think they will host regional this season? With the
I can't believe we're asking that question. That's the crazy part, is that
that is the crazy part. But we have to ask the question because of the slide that we took at the end of the season. I mean, heading into the last 2 weeks of the season, nobody would have thought that. But now ending the season, that's kind of a question. Will Clemson softball host a regional this season? And going into the season, I would have thought that was a foregone conclusion that we would host a regional.
They might not. They really need a strong showing in the ACC tournament for sure.
What do you think Clemson softball has to do in the ACC tournament in order to host a regional? Do they have to win?
I don't think they have to win, but definitely can't afford to get to go out. And in the beginning, whatever you call it, the first round, the pool, or whatever, however. You definitely got to win your pool and be in that, that final group for the, to actually compete for the ACC championship, I think. And I mean, can't believe we're even asking that question, but that's kind of that. It's kind of where we are because of, obviously you dropped 2 of 3 against Virginia Tech over the weekend. You lose to, you lost to Liberty in the midweek.
I really thought we had to sweep or at least win 2 out of 3 in Virginia Tech in order to really solidify, the regional. But we didn't. And we didn't look particularly good in the win against Virginia Tech. We kind of had to come from behind and kind of like, a heroic effort, which didn't feel really good.
No.
For Clemson softball, it seems like our bats have kind of fallen off as the year has gone on. It seems like since Florida State, maybe the confidence of this Clemson team has been shaken. And I don't know if that's fair or accurate, but it just feels like since that Florida State series, this Clemson team is not the same.
Yeah, no, Yeah, and it's definitely been on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
We're talking off like it's football, but still the offense has just not been there.
Yeah.
Hitting has been just subpar. It just they go through cold stretches, and you have to rely on some really phenomenal pitching efforts to kind of keep teams at bay, and that's just not a recipe for success. I mean, it's great that you
No.
have the pitching staff you do, but game 2 when even Val couldn't save them, and she couldn't close in game 2 because you didn't give enough run support, and
Right.
obviously you give up that walk off, and it's just you got to be better. The bats have gone cold, and that's really been the difference. And this team has definitely been a shell of itself of the past couple of weeks, especially since the Florida State series. Really,
Honestly, since the Florida State series, this team, I mean, in my opinion, we really haven't recovered from that series.
No.
I mean, and I think, I watched all 3 games of that series, and it almost seemed like the Clemson softball team was intimidated by Florida State. They were playing scared. They were playing unsure of themselves. And, the crazy part about it was that if you really watch the game, Clemson's right there. I mean, they're just as good as them. I think it's just like some sort of mental block that they haven't beat this team, and it's really weird. It's really weird to watch the team after that series of being swept. And I think Clemson kind of got outcoached in that series, especially when it comes to the small ball type stuff. I think our coach maybe leaves pitchers in too long. When the writing's on the wall. Especially you go back to that Virginia Tech game, the second game of that series at the end of the season. Valerie Cagle looked tired. She looked exhausted out there on the mound, and she
was getting she was getting screwed on some calls too, and so
and
she looked frustrated.
She looked frustrated. She looked stressed. Would it not be better just to bring another arm in for a different look instead of just leaving her in there? And then eventually, we all know what happened. The home run happened, and walk-off home run for Virginia Tech, but I don't know. I don't feel like that had to happen in that game. So, it is what it is. Clemson softball is way ahead of schedule. I'm not complaining. I think they have played phenomenal. The season is not over. It's not doom and gloom. Even if they don't host the regional, I think they have the team, the bats, the pitching, and the ability to make it to the College Softball World Series. But it's going to be an uphill battle, and the bats really have to. They really got to come alive, and they haven't been for the past couple weeks. So, hopefully,
it's kind of funny, just interesting how diametrically opposed like the seasons for Clemson softball and Clemson baseball have gone.
Yeah, no, right. Like
they both got swept. They both got swept by the number 1 team in their league, and then ever since that sweep, the softball team has not been the same team, and the baseball team has just gone on a tear.
Right.
So it's just really, really interesting.
They've gone in 2 opposite directions since those sweeps, and you're right. That's great. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Baseball got swept by Wake Forest, and since then they haven't lost a series. And then obviously softball got swept by Florida State, and they haven't lost every series they played, but they've definitely not played up to their ability for sure. So,
yeah, the baseball team has been playing absolutely out of their mind lately. David Wood says, "How's Dabo's restaurant doing?" I didn't know
It's not finished yet, David. I think he's talking about he's talking about the Walk-Ons restaurant that's on College Ave. Yeah, they're still building it. It's not open yet.
I didn't know he had a restaurant, but
yeah, he's opening. I mean, I think he has another one somewhere else, but I know. But he opened up a Walk-Ons, so that's it'll be interesting when that's kind of been when that's finished. But yeah, it's not done yet.
Is he gonna pull? Is he gonna pull that funding too? I'm just kidding. Come on now, that was a good one. That was good.
Yeah, that was good. I'll give you that one.
Come on,
I'll give you that one.
That was good.
Caden's been the beat. Yep, Caden Grice. Yep, he's been our Shohei Ohtani for sure. Just doing it on the mound and at the plate. He's been hitting dingers, and he's been throwing gas. This entire. Really throughout this entire run, he's been arguably the best player on the team. And this, just after last season, he had a phenomenal freshman year, but last season was just really poor. He was one of the nation's leader in strikeouts and just didn't play up to his ability. And then it took him a while to get going this season. But when the lineup kind of settled and he didn't have to, when Coach Bakich moved him, farther down the, he started off the season as the leadoff hitter. But I think the rise of Cam Canarella has been really, really huge for this team. And, as a leadoff hitter, and it's kind of taken the pressure off of Caden, and he can really just do what he does best. And that's just hit haymakers. And he's really come through for this team on the mound, especially especially knowing the state of Clemson's pitching staff early in the year. Caden has really come in and some really and given some really big time starts for this team. So he's been one of the best players in the country for sure. Just one of the best two-way players in the country. For sure. So really excited to see where this Clemson team can go. They still got a host. They have a series coming up against Louisville, a Louisville team that has not played well as of late. So I think you have a really good shot to get another series win there. And I think they still have to play North Carolina as well before they and I think they also have a midweek with Coastal Carolina. So they have a really good chance to get some really quality wins. So really excited to see where this baseball team, the turnaround has been phenomenal because,
it's been crazy.
This time a month ago, we would not have been talking about this Clemson baseball team possibly being a regional host.
No, it was like a 180. It was like a complete 180. Good night, David Wood. Thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. He said, I think we land Fletcher Whistle. I like where we are with him in the process.
I do too. He would be a really nice kid. Yeah, he's a big boy too.
He's 6'8", 330. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, guys. I think that's going to do it for the All-In show tonight. Unless you got anything else, Jordan.
No, I think we've exhausted. I think we've exhausted everything, and
I think we have too. I think we had a great show. I appreciate the interaction with the chat tonight. I think we've interacted with the chat more tonight than we had in a couple of our past episodes. So appreciate you guys showing up, showing out, commenting, furthering the conversation. There's 16 people in here right now. Please go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 97,000 subscribers. No, I'm just kidding. But go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. We appreciate it. Hey, check out all the other team channels, okay? There's a lot of other team channels on here. You guys see the Michigan guys come in here. Go check out their channel. Go check out Mark Rogers, the main channel. Check out his merch. Buy a mug, buy a T-shirt, buy a sweatshirt. There's tons of stuff over there. We appreciate you guys coming out, hanging out, chopping it up with me and Jordan Bowman. And without further ado, Jordan, send the people off, man.
Another great show tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. we do need to we need to
Oh,
talk about the time change.
there you go.
I think we talked about it last week that we were going to change the time, but then we put out a community post that said 9 p.m. Start time tonight, so we decided to keep it for tonight. But next week we are going back to our original 7 p.m. Start time on Thursdays. So
Absolutely.
definitely be nice to be be a little bit earlier, and we'll probably have a little bit more people in the chat for sure, because
Absolutely.
people have jobs and got to go to bed. So
Yeah.
definitely
like
be
me.
nice to have the show earlier.
Yeah,
So.
for sure. It'll be super nice to have the show earlier. So check us out next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Don't miss it. I'll be here. Jordan will be here. Hopefully you'll be here. And we'll see you next time. But until then, I'm Tiger Paul Craven. He is Jordan Bowman. 7 p.m. next Thursday. We'll see you here on the Voice of College Football Clemson channel.
Later, y'all.
Later.